I've been kind of like working in or around academia for, I don't know, it's been a long time now, maybe like close to 10 years or something like that. But um, like I said, basically I started off getting a master's in classics, and then I thought about getting a PhD in that, but it's I don't know, kind of a pretty stifling discipline. So ended up kind of looking towards other jobs that I could get working in higher education, because I really enjoyed a lot of the experiences I've had in it. And so that kind of led me to getting my Master's of Library and Information Science degree. And when I was working on that, uh, I ended up working on a couple of digital humanities projects and really enjoying kind of like the research that I did, and just like the spirit of collaboration and all that good stuff. And I thought, I mean, I originally got that degree because I thought I wanted to be humanities librarian. I still actually might want to do that, but um, kind of as I was ending that degree, I was just looking around for jobs. I was applying for a lot of humanities librarian jobs, but then I saw this one, and it's I don't know, it's a really unique like opportunity in space, and it was just kind of like a different interview process than some of the other jobs that I was looking at. And so honestly, yeah, after going through the interview with it, and after the job offer from them, it just seemed like a good step forward in my career, and kind of learning a bunch of different skills and learning from a bunch of different types of people. I think it's been really interesting. It's really strange, especially because I mean, both the projects that I'm managing right now, like mainly, um, like I haven't met a lot of the people in person, which is kind of a strange experience. But I don't know. Yeah, with the projects, honestly, like it's just trying out a bunch of different things to try and get ways for people to sort of like understand different perspectives and like understand each other, because you don't get those like physical in-person cues, which are kind of important for team building. So honestly, it's with both the projects that I've been managing, like it's just trying out a bunch of different things. So like just having people like draw things, or like having people whiteboard together, or just finding different ways to sort of spark conversation, because that can be really difficult in a digital environment when you're just, you know, staring, like we're all staring at screens for 8 hours a day plus. So it's really hard to get attention. So just trying to do different things that might be interesting, and might basically like serve as like a lightning rod for different people to be able to focus on something, because it's really I mean it's obviously been a difficult time for a lot of us. But I think, I mean, in some ways, I feel like the projects I've been working on, the people also really like what they're doing with it, so, and like what we're doing with it. So I think that's helped too, just having creative outlet, I know, is helpful for a lot of people. Yeah, so I'm involved with a bunch of them, but I can kind of talk about the two main ones, I guess, probably
Sure.
for this. Yeah, so the one that I've been involved with the most, it's been going on since, I think it was about a year before I started working at Greenhouse, the Flusser project, which is um, based off this a translation of a Czech Brazilian philosopher, Willem Flusser, by Anka Finger. And with that project, basically Flusser, uh, he he kind of like theorized or laid out these scenarios of what the future might look like. He's writing in like the 60s and 70s, I think, but he like wrote this like series of scenarios about like what the future might look like. And basically, before I got there, um, what they wanted to do with the project was to visualize the project, or visualize these scenarios in some way. Um, and so like before I got there, everything was still in person. So they were thinking possibly doing something with like AR, or um, possibly having like physical items uh, to sort of replicate the scenarios. But obviously, as the pandemic sort of dragged on, we didn't really know how long it was going to take for us to get back to working in person. And obviously, it's still not not a possibility at this point. So it kind of morphed into more of like a 3D experience, with like basically it's like a multimedia sort of thing, where we have three people who work in 3D. So we just kind of utilize that skill set and had them build these like 3D environments that can kind of, you know, visualize the scenarios that we're talking about. And then a couple of the other people working on it are working on videos to go along with that you can like watch in the 3D experience. So um, honestly, the pandemic kind of pushed the project to an all digital environment, which actually worked better for the skill sets of the people working on the project in the first place. So it kind of worked out in that way. Um, and so it's been pretty cool to see that project sort of move along. And yeah, I guess the next steps for that one is we're trying to finish it up within this month because we're presenting it at a conference on the 20th. So we're kind of on a tight schedule with that one, but it kind of seems like that happens a lot with projects where you get down to the wire and we're trying to fix a bunch of different things. But yeah, it's been a really fun experience, and like that that one is like a bizarre enough and it's like artistic enough that um, it's been really fun to see like what people have been able to make as far as like the 3D environments and like the videos and stuff. It's been pretty cool to see. Um, and then the other one we just started up was it's about the Yukon land grant and Yukon's status as a land grant university. Um, and this is I mean I actually got my master's at a land grant university as well, and I guess I kind of knew what that was, but I didn't like actually look into it, which I think is kind of the case for a lot of people. But basically, uh, I think it was like beginning of last year, 2020, there's a journalist and a historian published this data set that they put together that was based on the Morrill Act of 1862. Basically, what they tried to trace was that what the Morrill Act did was it sold out parcels of land that was taken from indigenous people and then funded universities through it, through kind of like slightly complex process. I probably don't have to get into that too much, but basically the land was stolen or taken or ceded through these treaties, but and then it was used to fund land grant universities and give them this idea of like land grant status. And so the people working on that, one of them is with the Cultural Center, and then another person's in the Dodd Center of Human Rights. And so that's the two outside collaborators we have, and we're just starting that one up. So we've had about 3 or 4 meetings. Yeah, 3 or 4 meetings, and then we're starting up weekly meetings for that one. And we're trying out a different strategy with this one. We're like a lot of times with the greenhouse projects, at least the ones that I've seen, it's kind of like working towards like one big thing at the end of it. Like with the Flusser project, working on this sort of like 3D interactive thing with some of the other ones like Overrated or like Layev. You have like these sort of like platforms that are looking to put out like one major thing. With this one, we're trying something a little bit different in that we'll probably end up creating content for it, be it videos or like infographics or stuff like that. But we're also trying to sort of tie that with a social media strategy to try and get people like across campus to just see the data and like see the story of what a land grant university is. Because like I said, I've heard that term so many times before, and I'm sure everybody who's been around a land grant university has heard that term before, but you don't realize sort of the story behind it and kind of the things that get covered up when you just see videos about, of people talking about the land grant status gave us this money to do this sort of thing, but you don't actually realize like what the honestly the history of like violence behind that is. So it's been, yeah, the first couple of meetings we did were the heavily facilitated, and they followed the outline of like the design process as well. And really, so me and Clarissa and Louisa worked on making the agenda for those meetings. And yeah, basically, I mean, we tried out a couple of different strategies with that. The first couple ones, it was just kind of like getting to know each other sort of thing and like laying out the research that had been done up to that point. Because this one, it's a little bit different than some of the other ones in that we already had this data set and we already had people that kind of knew what they wanted to do with it to a certain extent. So it's a little bit different, but yeah, we did have sort of like the heavily facilitated sessions. We tried a couple of different things with that. We created the possibility document, which is kind of like laying out possible paths that the project might go on, and kind of like the skills of people who are working on it and the goals that people want. We also tried something new because we're working online, so we couldn't do some of the like normal brainstorming stuff that they would usually do. But So we tried something that was taken from actually Tom Scheinfeld's experience working with the LTE people, the life transformative education people. And that was to create a headline from the end of the project. So like thinking, a year or two down the line or something like that, like what a possible end of the project could be. And then kind of working back from that and like thinking about what steps we need to get, what steps we need to take to actually be able to reach that goal. So that was actually really helpful in just kind of getting the goals out there to begin with, because Glenn and Sage, who are the two main people outside of Greenhouse that are working on it with us, they have sort of very specific goals that they want for this project. And we're really trying to make a project that can actually reach those goals in some way, probably not like fully, but that's something that we're kind of taking into consideration, trying to build sort of momentum behind it, and not just think about how we're connecting people towards the end of the project, but like actually building, like organically connecting people sort of at the beginning of it. With the Flusser project, I'm creating some video content for it, which is not something that I've done before. So that has been a interesting experience for me. I'm used to writing and translating and stuff like that. I started doing a little bit of that kind of stuff when I was working on my other masters, but like not much. So like just even something, I mean, I'm working in iMovie, so it's not like I'm doing something like crazy, in depth or anything like that, but just creating content like that has been really interesting. So one of the people we have working on that project is Catherine Masud, and she's like a video editor and a documentarian. She's been helping with like trying to frame the video content and trying to help us with like treatments of it and trying to help show us how to tell stories through that medium. So like I've learned a lot from her. Having Carly on board towards like she's been on board for about 2 months now, and like just seeing different ways that people create things and like little tiny editing choices or like choices like that I just wouldn't even ever think of. It's been really interesting to see that stuff and just see how much thought actually goes into making content, because it's something that obviously like I knew, but like until you do it, you don't really think about that sort of thing. So I mean, there's a couple people who who thought more technically that wanted to because we're dealing with like a lot of like geographic data and like economic data and stuff like that. So there are definitely people that were more oriented towards thinking about that and like trying to ways to visualize that, which I think, I mean, it's going to be important in the way that we're approaching it at some point to do visualizations of the data. And that's kind of what the original project did. There's people that were more goal oriented that said like, this is what I want to come out of this. There's probably different ways to get to that goal, and basically whatever is the most effective way to get to that goal is what we want from it. And then there's kind of people that were a little bit in between that were thinking a little bit about like strategies that could possibly get to that goal, and then like platforms that might be able to like reach that as well. So I think it was like I guess with this group, it was kind of vague enough that, like I said, they kind of knew what they wanted, but they didn't know what the thing is to get to that. So to trying out different things and like thinking about different ways of like different means of output, because we're probably it's going to be, I think this project's going to be a little bit different in that Mill might end up being a little bit more traditionally scholarly, where there's a lot of like research, there's a lot of documentation, a lot of paperwork and stuff like that. But I mean, maybe it won't, who knows, like you know what I mean. But with this one, we're definitely concerned about those things. We want to connect people to resources, but it's also we're trying to be a little bit more mobile with it and a little bit I mean, we're obviously putting a lot of thought into it. It's just trying to find a little bit more mobile means, I guess. Yeah, the organizing the conference was something I'd never done before. So it was kind of one of those experiences where you got to learn a lot of different things. But yeah, I think basically what the work that I've been doing on it since is that we're trying to write a white paper for that kind of describes what took place at the conference, what took place at the conference, and then probably do a little bit of research as well. So we're still compiling that with Kim Kennedy at Northeastern, me and Wes, and uh, moving forward, me and Wes are working kind of in tandem, kind of a little bit separately as the outreach team for it. So Wes is focusing more on like institutions and archivists themselves, and then uh, I'm working on outreach towards more like graduate students and like digital
Mhm.
humanities centers. So I haven't gotten a chance to schedule any yet, but because I've just been so busy since like the last couple of months. But yeah, basically next steps with that is to look at different DH institutions and put together a presentation that can uh, kind of do a couple of things, like kind of just get the get the name of sorcery out there and get people kind of interested in it, and then hopefully get some like graduate students and people that are wanting different things to sign up for it, and even place requests and stuff like that. So that's kind of where I'm at with it at the moment.